when you have a quarterback on a rookie deal, these are the type of moves you make. And I don't think, from a Washington point of view, I don't think it's a bad move, but I think it's a good move for Houston as well.
For Laremy Tunsil, Houston Texans, now former Houston Texans tackle. We'll get back to your calls at 5 o'clock, but we got time now to catch up with my old pal Landry Locker. Worked together down in Dallas. He's made his way down to Houston. I'm here now, and we reunite, Landry, to talk about perhaps the biggest trade that's going to get made all day. When we were texting, you're like, man, I can tell you about the Laremy Tunsil experience. Tell me and the audience about the Laremy Tunsil experience.
One, I think it's kind of a unique one in Houston, but the best way that I would describe Laremy Tunsil is I think he's a good player. I would say he's a top tackle, but I think this is something that your audience can relate to. He's the opposite of Trent Williams, and by that I mean Trent Williams. I mean, you covered him, so I don't want to speak on this. There could be something to it, but it always seems like they said that, like in Washington, he was kind of the alpha in the locker room. He was kind of the voice. A lot of like holding other people accountable and stuff like that. Laremy Tunsil is kind of he's good, but he's not really he's just gonna do his own thing, and it was kind of a unique situation in Houston because the manner in which he got here. It was a trade that was very, very steep. Bill O'Brien was functioning as if, his days were numbered, and they were. And when he got to Houston, he basically had the organization by the balls. And I think that kind of bled into the D'Amico experience to where I don't want to say he was a bad influence on other guys on the offensive line, but I don't think he was a good influence because I don't think everyone can move like Laremy Tunsil and be effective. So I think this is kind of a move where the Texans are getting out proactively before Tunsil is due for a next contract, and they'll have Will Anderson and C.J. Stroud to pay. And I also think it's just a complete re-shifting of the culture of one of the NFL's worst offensive lines.
So that was going to be my next question is like, there is a little bit, I don't want to say buyer beware here, but there's a little bit of like, wait, why did we get this guy? Because he's one of the best, like when he's playing at his best, which 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago he was. Last year, as you well know, the Texans' entire offensive system was a nightmare. He's one of the best 3, 5 certainly, best left tackles in football on the field, snap in, snap out. So why would Houston, whose offensive line struggled so mightily last year, make him available? Is it more contractual, or is it like the culture thing, and how much of the culture, if it's that, is specific to Houston, where if he gets a fresh start somewhere else in a locker room with a Bobby Wagner and a Zach Ertz, that he might be just fine?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's definitely a little bit of both. I think he's going to be walking into a situation in Washington where, they're one of the more popular teams in the league right now. They've got something going. They've got some leadership, and he's going to kind of have to find his way there, and he's not going to be asked to be one of the faces of the franchise. I don't think he wants to be a face of the franchise. Now, he does. I mean, I think he likes like the lifestyle that comes with being the highest paid. I think the most proud that I've seen him when he was here was, getting to celebrate, as he would say, the 2-time highest paid offensive lineman in NFL history twice. But I do think that there was just an awkward vibe with the offensive line here, where he was kind of doing his thing and they were doing theirs. And D'Amico Ryans always talks about iron sharpening iron and all that. That's one of his go-tos. And my question always with Laremy Tunsil was, if iron sharpens iron, what's the opposite of that? And how much, if you're going to say that, then how much does that matter? I always kind of compare Tunsil here to a guy that you play pickup basketball with, that his team always loses 15-8, but he's always talking about how he scored all 8 points. And I don't know if that is something that goes to Washington, but that was just kind of the vibe here with when Tunsil was doing what he was doing, and he was taking care of his business. I mean, the false starts, they frustrate a lot of fans, but he's a really good pass blocker. Not a great run blocker, but not awful. But I just think it was time for a change. And I think every factor that we mentioned is kind of comes into play with this decision.
So his play, Landry Locker, 610 Sports in Houston with us here on the Hoffman Show. His play last year specifically, how much of it was a potential drop-off or any kind of physical thing with him versus the accumulation of mental versus just like Bobby Slowick did a bad job?
I would say his personal play was actually fine. I didn't see anything really bad with his personal play. I mean, he was still doing a good job run blocking. I don't think personally his play fell off. I just think the offensive line as a whole, you can factor in Bobby. They were just really, really bad, and there wasn't any. No one was really elevating their play. I think you can make a case that he had the influence. He had influence on a couple of the guys, and I don't think it was like an evil influence or anything like that, or like a proactively negative influence. But I just think they kind of copied the wrong things, because I don't think everyone can move like Tunsil. Like Tunsil has, you can go to his YouTube. He has like a Protect the Tree YouTube. He basically has like 4 guys who work for him, and he's into fashion and all that type of stuff. I've always enjoyed interviewing him and whatnot, but I think he has the God-given ability to where he can move like that. I think there were a couple guys on this offensive line who don't have that ability, that were kind of copying the wrong things when it came to Laremy Tunsil. They were trying to be extra cool, and they don't do that. I will say this though, he's always in shape, so it's not like he's going to come in shape. I would anticipate that he's probably going to want a new deal, but there's that. But yeah, he moves a certain way that he's able to move. And I don't know that everyone on the offensive line has the God-given ability to be able to do that.
So it's funny you say that, and you made the Trent Williams comparison. I'm going to update your Trent Williams file. That actually sounds exactly like Trent Williams, because there were times that like Trent could. And Trent, the other thing about Trent, and I'd be curious about this part. Last thing for you, because I know you got a live stream show that you're doing here in 5 minutes. Like Trent was also so absurdly smart about the game. Trent didn't need to study. And I don't say that in like, he's so gifted he could make up for it. He would see things once and just be like, I got it. And he like didn't understand how other people just didn't get certain things. I remember there was one guy who had like a false start issue one year, and he's like, I don't understand how Duke can't remember the snap count. Like that literally never happens. Like what are we doing? And so it just, football came and still comes at 36 so naturally to Trent Williams that if anybody else tries to be Trent Williams, it's not going to work. And it sounds like and Trent, like, he's pretty swaggy and all that kind of stuff too. So it kind of sounds like Laremy Tunsil is very similar to Trent in those regards.
Yes. It's kind of like, and yeah, I don't even know that Laremy cares enough to get frustrated about it. That's the other thing. Like, I think Trent might at least like get ticked off at the guy. I don't know. Maybe not. You could tell me, but I don't even know that Laremy cares enough to like even really get upset if guys aren't doing their job. He really just wants to handle his own business. But the Washington culture, the Dan Quinn and all that, it will be interesting. Laremy, he was here before D'Amico and stuff, so it was just an interesting dynamic with Tunsil. But hey, when you have a quarterback on a rookie deal, these are the type of moves you make. And I don't think, from a Washington point of view, I don't think it's a bad move, but I think it's a good move for Houston as well. Both two teams can win trades.
Yeah,
that does happen.
100%. And it's definitely going to be interesting when they get him into this culture. I mean, as long as he cares about his business, that's a start. If he didn't care at all, that'd be a non-starter. And I do think it's interesting because there is the Adam Peters D'Amico connection from San Francisco. Like, DQ's very well respected in kind of the Kyle Shanahan circles. So there's no doubt that there was some real conversations there. And then we'll see. We'll see how this works out on both ends. Landry, appreciate it, sir. Have a great rest of your day doing whatever live stream you're doing with whatever chaos is about to unfold for us here in NFL Free Agency.
Yes, sir.
All right, that's Landry Locker. Yeah, thanks, dude. Landry Locker with us here on The Hoffman Show.
This is The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.